Hey guys, so I had a question this morning from Dress, and he's been a long time subscriber, and it was a good question, and I thought, I don't really know the answer to, so for me, when I don't know the answer to something, I usually just go to the internet and start researching, so that's basically what I did. But this question here says, basically the part of the question is, I was wondering what you thought of using Eastwood's rust converter instead of their internal frame coating. What's the big difference between them? Well, I really don't know. So I looked up, I basically went to the MSDS sheets to figure out what their active ingredient or whatever, which I figured was probably phosphoric acid or something like that that's killing the rust or something like that, and then they put some other additives in there to, basically seal it. So what I'm finding is, so this is the material safety data sheet for rust converter. Let's see, is this the right? It may not be the right one. But anyway, on this stuff here, and most of them, before I go too far, you see here it says tannic acid. Well, tannic acid, according to this sheet here, and this is on rust converters, it says it's the heart of a rust converter. It reacts with iron oxide, converting it to iron tannate, or tannate, whatever it is, that stable blue and black corrosion product. And basically, so it's killing the rust, the tannic acid. Okay, the tannic acid and phosphoric acid basically work the same way from what I can understand. This is the MSDS sheet on what you would just have your basic Rust-Oleum rust reformer, rust converter. You can buy at Walmart, whatever. So I thought, well, I'll check that out and see what the active ingredients is killing. Right here, tannic acid. So tannic acid looks like it's pretty much going to be the active ingredients that's actually killing the rust. And so then I went to material safety data sheet for the rust encapsulator. Okay, here's what it has in it. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce all this crap here. But basically you come down to a lot of this stuff is just thinners and whatever. Methyl ethyl ketone, you got acetone. Then you got zinc oxide. Well, zinc oxide is going to be that ingredient that basically is a rust preventative, but I don't know that it's necessarily a rust killer per se. It doesn't really have anything else in it. It doesn't say it has tannic acid in it. Well, it might. I don't know. This is just the MSDS. Surely they're not going to give you every ingredient in their secret formula that does whatever it does. But so yeah, I already did that one. So basically what it comes down to is, that's what I was going to do. I went to Eastwood's site on this internal frame coating, and that's what I used in it. Now they have it in black and they have it in green, and I used the green. But right here, and let's see, right here it says, internal frame coating destroys rust hiding inside the chassis, so it does not rust its way through. Blah blah blah. Okay, so right there, just in that sentence right there, it destroys rust. So they've obviously got something in there. Let's see what it says here. Tough phenolic resins penetrates, converts, encapsulates the rust on the internal surfaces. Zinc phosphate seals it to prevent future corrosion. So there's some kind of phenolic resin in there that, and it's probably tannin, that kills the rust, converts it, and then the zinc phosphate encapsulates it. So whether one's better than the other one, I have no idea. The only reason that I use this is because of this little wand, because I can do what I did in that video and run it down into places that you can't get to. Now maybe the rust encapsulator does the same thing. Maybe it comes with the wand. I don't know. This is the stuff I found first and I've been using for years, so I just stuck with it. So I hope that answers your question. Like I said, I try to do my homework on some of this stuff. I know phosphoric acid is a big one for killing rust and stuff like that. But for me, that's a big no-no with the SPI epoxy that I use. You're not supposed to use acid-based products underneath it because it just doesn't. It won't allow the SPI to stick to it. Now, several other ones you probably can. As a matter of fact, I've seen people use phosphoric acid to stabilize the metal, and then they spray, some other epoxy that plays well with acid right over top of it. So it's just SPI that doesn't really like the acid underneath it. So for me, I can't really be spraying a lot of acid all over the car. That's why I don't use phosphoric acid running it down into those crevices, because that stuff runs out everywhere. It gets into places where you don't even realize it's running down into. Like yesterday when I sprayed that green stuff down through there, it ran all down underneath the car and all out through the crevices and all that kind of stuff. So that stuff I'll have to clean off before I spray any kind of epoxy if I go ahead and use the SPI. Which it looks like I probably will, for the sheer fact that the cost is to use, and this is just my opinion, well, it's kind of fact too, but the cost involved in using PPG's epoxy is unbelievable. Their products, and I'm sure you're paying for what you get, what you pay for. I'm sure that's the thing. But so far I've had a lot of hard times with the SPI, just learning curve in general, but it seems to be sticking pretty well to the metal. So for me, I'll probably go ahead and use that again. As long as you're properly prepping the metal, that's the problem. If you don't properly prep the metal, in my experience, that's where you have the failures, like I did on the Honda hood. So I had to go back and re-prep that hood and fix it and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I've already made this video longer than I wanted to, because I'm going to get out and play with the car today. So I'll give you a little update after I get, I'm basically going to do the same thing I did to the other cow, to the opposite cow today. So I mean, it's going to be more of the same. So I probably won't take you long for a whole lot of that. Just maybe a little update after I'm done. But all right, see you guys. All right, so here's something else I want you guys to see. I did these panels 2.5 years ago. The SPI epoxy torture test. The video's up if you guys want to go back and watch it. But anyway, so I kept these panels for a long time. I've welded on them, obviously. I've done all kinds of stuff on them. So the other day I thought, I'd like to see how well this stuff's holding up. So I came over to this panel and I got to looking. And hopefully that'll be able to zoom in on this. It's not prepped very well. I mean, there is some scratch in there, but they look like 180 scratches. They're not very good. And so I just took a piece of tape, and you can see the same shape there basically. And I just stuck it on there and kind of rubbed it on good, and then just ripped it off. Well, it pulled the epoxy right off the metal, and that kind of worried me. And I thought, oh crap, I hope that's not the way I, whatever. But so this panel I was just doing to try to see what my fisheye problem was. So I probably didn't prep it real well, or I probably used the same piece of paper that I used that I'd already wore out basically on this piece of metal. So on this piece of metal I did the same thing. This was actually test panel number 2, and I can do it again real quick. And then just rip it off real quick. Okay, there's 0 epoxy on that, and it held just fine. So what I'm getting at is properly etched up steel. It's going to hold to it good, but if you don't properly do your metal, this is worthless. So be sure you prep your metal right. So in saying that, question about this EDP stuff. Well, they tell you this, from what I've read, this EDP stuff is supposed to be the best stuff you can it's the best stuff ever. They put it on there. It's electrically deposited. I don't know exactly how they do it, but it almost seems like a kind of a powder coating type deal, but they use electricity instead. And well, it may be the same type of situation. They electrically charge it, and then the stuff actually sticks to the metal. So for this stuff, you can look at this and tell, or at least I can, if it's primer, if it's EDP. The EDP just looks totally different. And so while it scratches very easily, it adheres really well. I mean, you can scratch with something sharp, it'll scratch. But when I said yesterday, I had a little scratch over there. Not a big deal. I'll prep that up and we'll cover that with epoxy. I'm going to cover this whole thing with epoxy, but I'm going to leave this stuff down. Now here's another thing. I've said in the past that you can get fingerprints and stuff like that. Say the little kid or whoever was, little Taiwan kid, whoever was doing this, if they touched it with their bare hands and they got some oils or whatever underneath there and it started a rust process, you can see that in the CDP. So if you go over it really good with a fine-tooth comb, you can literally, because of the sheen of this stuff, you can tell if there's any imperfections. So if you find that, you need to take that off. But if not, I would say leave it. Now this piece of tape's been sitting on here for a little bit, so it should be stuck real well. I'm gonna rip that off. You can't get this stuff off with lacquer thinner. You can take lacquer thinner, which is, man, takes paint right off, and you can rub it all over this, it won't come off. So that kind of attests to how good the stuff is. And I'll probably get lots of comments on that, but whatever. Okay, so you're literally not getting anything. That ain't even nothing. I mean, this stuff is good. Hold the camera here real quick. I mean, you're not going to get any black off of that. It's just not going to happen. So what I'm getting at is you can scuff this with red Scotch-Brite or maybe a little bit of 180 or whatever, and go over that with your epoxy, and then you have a double protective coat. I don't have an issue with it unless it's been compromised somehow, like I said, by oils or something like that. If you see rust forming underneath it, a little bubble or something here or there, you need to definitely take that off. But which I've had on some of the metal. That one, not so much. I haven't found anything. I haven't found anything on any of the stuff I bought lately. Some of the panels in the past I have, though. So anyway, yeah, a little heads up on that. Like I said, man, if you don't prep this metal really well, I think you're going to run into problems, and it's probably going to be that way with any epoxy that doesn't actually etch into the steel, like that has an acid base under it that actually etched into the metal. That's just my opinion. I mean, take it for what it's worth, but which isn't all that much, because I'm learning just like you guys. I'm not a scientist that does all the product testing, and that's why I do this stuff. That's why I do the testing, because for me, I want to see it work or see it fail, one or the other, and then I know, okay, this is what I can get away with this stuff. Here I've even been doing some stuff with this, running the different grits. This is 80 grit on a orbital. I think this was 80 grit on a different orbital, and then this one here was a little 80 grit scratch that I did on my this little guy here. Where the hell is it? Right here. I got a little 80 grit disc on this and scratched it up pretty good. And what I thought about doing when I'm epoxying my other stuff, and then doing one with just a DA, which is that here. That's an 80 grit DA scratch. But doing that here and then spraying this with epoxy and then letting it sit for a while and seeing which of these actually adheres better. Kind of do that tape test and rip off and see which one of them is going to actually grab the best. Seems to me that grit right there, which is 80 grit, but it's on a different, it's not a DA. Seems like that would give it a little more tooth, because you can physically feel that, whereas this is more smooth. So you would think it would really adhere to that, but I could be wrong. Maybe this puts more tooth per surface area squared, blah blah blah. I don't know. But yeah, you know me, I like to kind of play around with stuff like that. I know it takes time away from the car, but if I learn something that's going to make it better in the future, then it's time well spent for me. So, all right, I'm gonna get on this car. See you. All right, there's that. So up in those crevices there, I'm gonna have to spray that internal frame coater and try to get it seep in there good.
That's about as good as I could get my arms up in there to get that, so that's going to have to work. I've got a mask on still because all that rust that was in there. I'll tell you for sure, this bad boy right there, that takes the rust off like nothing I've ever seen. And when they get this small, don't throw them away, because these things are priceless, because they get into these little tiny crevices and stuff like that that you can't normally get, you know, get with that big one. So keep a hold of those. Use them until there's nothing left. Oh yeah, I probably got wind blowing on you again. Here, let me shut this down. Man, it's hazy in here from that dust. I hate to breathe it, so I'm not going to. But yeah, that's really all I got done today. I got this off, this piece here. I don't know where the hell I put it. I got a mess. There's that piece there. That bad boy will go. Like that. There it is. Just like that. So it'll go back on there like that. Once I sandblast it, clean it all up. So, yeah, that's going to be it for today. That's all I can get done. So, that was a lot of work. But, which is all said and done. Should look like that one in there. It'd be nice. So, alright, see ya.